If you're looking for a podcast that packs in sound property advice, as well as offering you an insight into making the world of property effective and ultimately work for you, you're in the right place. Hosted by Arsh Ellahi, the original property rebel. He's written an Amazon bestseller, created the Property Investor app, the UK's first, and is an experienced property mentor. More importantly, he talks the talk and walks the walk.
Welcome to another edition of The Property Rebel with your host, Arsh Ellahi. I wanted to start this session literally just by saying thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the Property Rebel channel and all those that have reached out to me just to say thank you and provide me with some positive feedback. It's been a breath of fresh air for a lot of people, for them to hear a podcast where it's completely raw on a one-take basis, where we don't let anything or we don't hold anything in and we talk completely off the cuff. Now, today's session very much is all about HMO saturation. I'm going to be asking some questions such as, is the HMO market about to burst? Is the bubble about to burst? Is it hitting saturation point? Why is everyone still doing it? There's lots of questions there and I'm hoping to try and get through them. If you like the podcast, please feel free to share it with like-minded individuals. And hopefully this will literally increase the ranking of the Property Rebel in the iTunes charts. So let's get straight into it. I'm going to be talking about the HMO market in general to start with, because I think that's a great place to start. I've been doing HMOs for a long time. I've been doing it for the best part of 15 years. So I got in from a very long time ago, and I've got I've got HMOs from 4-bed HMOs right up to 23-bed HMOs. And previously I've even had a 40-bed HMO. So I'd like to think I know a few things about the HMO market. And I've seen the market evolve massively as more and more people have got into the HMO strategy. Previously, people were looking at single lets and they thought single lets were very safe and very calm. You let and forget it. When the market crashed back in 2007, 2008, people needed to start to look at other ways that they could extract cash flow from their properties. And they started to look at the HMO strategy. And for those that don't know what HMOs are, and there are lots of implications about setting up a HMO, there's lots of red tape and legislation about setting up HMOs. The first thing that I would suggest, and here's the first tip for you, is that if you are going to be doing this or setting one up, please take some time out before you do it and read up the legislation, understand exactly what you need to do, engage with the HMO officer, make sure that you understand what Article 4 is, make sure you're not in selective licensing, and all the other bits that go around setting up a HMO in order for you to do it correctly. If you don't do these steps from the outset, they may cost you moving forward. So we've got to look at things like HMOs. Are they licensed? Are they unlicensed? And we'll be doing other podcasts about this. But one of the things that people like about HMOs is the fact that they're attracted to the high level of cash flow. Now, lots of people fall under the misconception that HMOs are pretty much hands-free and they are very much that they can provide you with a massive cash flow. Yes, they can provide you with cash flow, but you also have to take into consideration that they will require a lot of work and you do need to be hands-on in order for you to make sure that it's successful. Lots of people take on HMOs and give them to letting agents, and they do run okay. I'm not going to shoot letting agents down because they do a great job and there's certainly a purpose for them in the marketplace. But I personally believe that in order for you to extract the full value out of your HMO, you should be running it yourself. Not many people would say that, but hey, I'm the property rebel. So why it's become a very easy target, shall we say, is because, first of all, it provides massive cash flow. And let's just say that a 5-bed HMO, where each room is renting out, for argument's sake, £400 a room, that will produce £2,000 a month. Now, everyone will go off and start shouting, yeah, I've got a HMO's producing £2,000 a month. Once you start looking at the management costs, once you start taking out your funding costs, your finance costs, once you're taking out your utility costs, when we talk about utilities, we're potentially looking at council tax, water rates, electricity, gas, broadband, cleaner, and other maintenance costs, etc. You'll probably whittle that down. Those costs roughly equate to around 25 to 30% of the income. Then you've got your management, which is about 10% plus VAT. So straight away, you've lost 40% plus your finance costs, whatever they may be. So on average, for a 5-bed HMO, you're looking roughly around cash flow between £500 to £700 a month. So that's what I kind of work on. And that's for a model which is all-inclusive. When we talk about all-inclusive, includes council tax, water rates, electricity, gas, potentially broadband, potentially cleaner, and all the other bits, digital TV, whatever you want to do. There are certain types of HMOs that you should be looking at, and this is where you've got to be looking at as to how you differentiate yourself. I talk about this as in the competition. And when I set up my HMOs, I look at what the marketplace is doing. I'm going to use Wolverhampton as an example for this, just purely because it's an area that I know extremely well. When I set up a HMO in Wolverhampton, first thing that I look at is what is everyone else doing. So I go onto websites such as Spare Room, Gumtree, Open Rent, just to name a few, and I have a look at how many other HMOs are actually being advertised at that point, how many people are actually looking. So Spare Room gives you an algorithm. So in Wolverhampton, there may be 300 properties being offered and only 200 people looking. From the outside, that instantly suggests that the market's saturated. There's more demand than there is supply. Or is that the right way around? So there's more properties being offered than people looking. Hopefully you get the gist. Hey, remember, it's one take. Now, that may deter some of you, and you think, well, to be fair, I'm not really sure if I want to set up a HMO in Wolverhampton. I would seriously suggest that you do your homework on the area, because Spare Room gives you an algorithm. So that algorithm may have looked at people outside, it may outside of Wolverhampton, and sometimes I get people looking from Birmingham looking to move into Wolverhampton. So there's lots of things that you need to take into consideration. So I wouldn't take that algorithm as being 100% accurate. But the one thing that I do is that I look at all the listings on there, and I look at how much is the landlord trying to achieve for that room. What are they offering? Is the property fully furnished? Is there communal kitchens? Is there communal lounges? Do any of the rooms have en suites? Do any of the rooms have like mini kitchenettes? What is the customer getting for their money? Then I sit back and I think, how can I enhance that experience for that customer, but still make it affordable and also a profitable venture for me? The last thing that I want to do is go off and spend over the odds on a property and find that I could still have achieved the same cash flow by putting less capital in. So remember, property is a business, and you've got to look at it from a spreadsheet or a calculator point of view. I always say, one of my greatest sayings is, the calculator will not lie. What cannot speak cannot lie. Don't force the numbers. If the figures don't work, don't do it. And I'm very straightforward talking to that point. Lots of my mentees come to me and say, Arsh, I've seen this deal. And I look at it and said, how realistic are your numbers? You told me that a room you're going to achieve 500 in that location. I've just done some research there. Rooms are fetching 400. What are you going to do to increase it by £100 a month? Are you really trying to kid yourself out of doing it? And what they're doing, in essence, is setting them up to fail from the outset. No one wants to see a HMO fail. So first thing that we should be looking at is what the competition is. So we should be seeing what they're doing, how they're doing it, how we can enhance, how we can add value to the person. So we're looking at the standard of the accommodation. Next thing that we should be doing is also having a look at the location. How many other HMOs are within that location? Are we then just going to become a statistic within that area? If we put property up, are we going to be battling out with all the other properties within that location. Another top tip that I would give you is that if you are setting up a HMO, make sure that you're close to somewhere where it's got large employers. So I would use an example of a hospital. In Wolverhampton, we've got the New Cross Hospital, which is a massive hospital, employs thousands of people. So if we can get a property close to a hospital, it would be phenomenal, because you know that you're going to have a constant stream of tenants and customers that will be living there for the duration of what you own the property. So when I look to set up properties, I look for hospitals, I look for universities, I look for city centres. Now, I'm going to touch on universities slightly, because one of the things about HMO saturation has come around as a result of what universities have been doing within certain cities and towns around the country. Now, using Wolverhampton again as my example, is that previously there were certain pockets of Wolverhampton, what would have been considered student areas. And we all get them. I went to university in Cheltenham, so I know that places round by Pittville, round by St Paul's, round by the top end of by the Park campus, they were all hotspots for students because they were surrounding the campuses of the university. Now, in Wolverhampton, again, it's got certain campuses, but what Wolverhampton University started to do is actually build a student village. So they built a massive tower in conjunction with a developer, and they built a massive tower. What that did was actually suck up all the students that were previously living in student houses with private landlords into this massive tower. Now, when you listen to this, put yourself into the thought or the mind of a parent of a person going to university. So let's just say your son and daughter is going to university, and you decide that they all want to come to Wolverhampton because it's such a wonderful place. You've got the option of either going with accredited university accommodation, where you know it's going to be clean, well maintained, and the landlord is the university, so it's a safe environment for the student and your child. Or you've got the option of putting them in with a private landlord with potential people that they don't know, whether the landlord is a rogue landlord or whether he's a good landlord, whether the property is going to be maintained whilst your son or your daughter is living in that property, whether your son and daughter is going to be happy in that accommodation. You've got to also take into consideration that the university accommodation also provides things like cleaning facilities, ensuite facilities, communal facilities. So it makes it quite an enjoyable experience for that person. And I saw drones of HMO properties which were previously filled with students, now sat empty. Come September, come October, the landlords that were previously living and loving life with students were now sat there with vacant properties that have now had to think, well, now we've got to adapt. The university has taken all of our students away from us and put it into student accommodation. What are we going to do now? And this is where we hit saturation point in Wolverhampton, I believe, because now they're all fighting for a different clientele. Previously, they were all going for the student market. Now they're all looking for the working class tenants. And now there's a lot more properties being offered, all for the same marketplace. So when you're looking at HMOs, if you are looking to accommodate students, you've also got to have a look at what that university is going to be doing. Have they got any intentions to build a student village within that area? Another area that I can tell you about, Birmingham have done it, Sunderland done it. And if you look, this is no tip by the way, but just literally look on Rightmove and type in Sunderland, see how many HMOs are for sale, how many empty HMOs are for sale. That's a clear indication that there's something going wrong in that area. Why have they got so many good investment style properties being sold empty? So take all this into consideration when you're looking to invest in a HMO, and then you can make your own judgment as to is that area saturated or not. Now, one of the things that local authorities started to do, and you'll know whether this area is a saturation point or not, is they brought in something called the Article 4 Directive. Now, the Article 4 Directive was simply something that slowed down the growth of HMOs in that area. Now, Wolverhampton, they brought in Article 4, I believe it was September 2018. Don't quote me on that. It might have been 2017 or 2018. And they thought that far too many people were coming into Wolverhampton, taking a property as a single let, converting it into a multi-let. And what that was doing was putting stress on the local authority. So let's just say a house previously, it's got 20 houses on. That street has got 20 houses on. Now, previously, that would have housed 20 families. Now, if each of those houses now start becoming 5-bed HMOs because it's close to a university, it's close to a city centre, or it's close to a hospital, straight away, that street now houses 5 times 20 is 100 people, which means that it's going to have 100 lots of waste. It's going to have lots of stress on the area. It's going to have stress on the local community. It was not set up for that purpose. So Wolverhampton actually decided to bring in Article 4. So it says that, okay, all the HMOs that are operational, great, we'll honour those. Anything moving forward, if you want a new HMO from this date onwards, I think it was 1st September 2017 or 2018, you'll now have to apply for planning permission, which means that you have to put in an application. They will then have a look at what other HMOs are within that vicinity, and they'll make a decision of whether it's oversaturated or whether it's not. They'll start looking at stuff like crime rates, how many people are in the area, how much parking is in the location, and stuff like that. So they've slowed it down. Now, when they brought this into place, instantly, the first thing that I thought of is this going to damage my business? Now, the reason why I thought that is because I like setting up HMOs, because it's allowing me to grow quickly. I can buy, I can fill, I can refurb, I can fill, and then I can refinance against its commercial value. By the way, I'm doing a podcast specifically on commercial finance, so keep your eyes open for that. The only way that you're going to know about it is by subscribing to the channel. That's not a plug, by the way. So when local authorities bring in Article 4, it slows everything down massively. And you can kind of get the gist that within the first couple of years of Article 4 coming into place, because they're trying to slow things down, naturally they're going to try and reject as many applications as possible. That's the kind of general gist. And when you look at things like Milton, when you look at areas like Milton Keynes, Wolverhampton and other areas such as those, that's the natural progression of what's happened. From another point of view, I've found that Article 4 can also be a good thing, because instantly it closes the barrier, which means that now I know how many of the HMOs are within that area, which means that I can now target, am I going to have to increase the standard of my HMO, which means that am I going to become better? What's my new USP? Am I now the new landlord that has got the best HMO in that location? And I started doing this with some of my properties. I upgraded the properties so that when we look on Spare Room, my pictures are the best, my descriptions are the best, and I instantly appeal to people when they look at that property. They look at it, they like it, they see the pictures, they see the videos, and I do put videos up on my properties, especially in times when we are in lockdown. People can do virtual viewings, which has now become a thing. And as a result, it's worked extremely well. Now, with Article 4, more importantly, Article 4 has allowed my properties to increase in value. Now, I will do I think I'll do a podcast on Article 4 because it is such a hot topic that as a result of no more properties being created as a HMO because of Article 4 being brought in, it's now increased the value of my properties, which I thought was a great thing when I'm coming to do a refinance. And again, I'll do another podcast on refinancing and commercial valuations. I'm now able to get the commercial valuations quite easily. Now, finally, so the local authority, we've talked about the market in general. We've talked about how local authorities have a level of control over us now with Article 4 and all the things that they try and do to slow us down. We've got to look at what we do to compare ourselves to others. Is it pricing? we're more expensive or we're cheaper than our competitors. And we have to look at that in terms of quality. What are we offering that's different to the other guys? Is it that we've got en-suites? Is it that we've got kitchenettes? Is it that they've got digital TVs everywhere? Is it that they've got brand new plush furnishings everywhere? Is it that they're offering all the other little bits and pieces, the cleaning that goes round, the Christmas tree at Christmas time, and all the other little things? I'm a big advocate that you've got to be treating, if you treat your tenants and your customers correctly, they shouldn't be looking to go elsewhere. Other than obviously potentially taking jobs or moving out. But if they're happy within their location, they're happy with you as a landlord, they're happy with the location, they're happy with the service that you offer, there's no reason for them to need to move. I've had tenants that have been with me for, one of my tenants has been with me 15 years, 17 years, 18, 19 years. And previous to that, one of the tenants that unfortunately passed away, been with us 38 years in the same room. Now, this was one of the tenants that originally started out in one of my father's properties. And if you haven't listened to my intro, please listen to episode 1. And, these guys have been with me a long time. And they've been with me a long time because I've been a good landlord to them. I've been a good friend to them. More importantly, I've provided them with safe, secure, warm accommodation at affordable levels where it's worked out for everyone. So when we talk about HMO saturation, you have to look at everything as a collective. And as a result, when you're looking at everything that you're offering, you shouldn't be questioning of whether the HMO market is saturated. You should be questioning is whether you're good enough and whether you're putting yourself or whether your USP is above everyone else's. So there we have it, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed the session. I really enjoyed talking about that. It's not very often that I talk about HMO saturation because I'll concentrate on what we're doing. If you've liked the episode, please share it. Please leave us a review. That would be fantastic. More importantly, feel free to follow me on any social media. And finally, please download the Property Investor app, which is the UK's first property investment marketplace. So if you're looking to buy your next property deal, download the app. We've got loads of deals on there. We've got HMO deals, we've got rent-to-rent deals, we've got lease option deals, we've got development deals, just to name a few. All you got to do is go to the App Store, whether you're using an Android device, whether you're using an Apple device, whether you're using a tablet or a website or a desktop. Go to www.propertyinvestorapp.co.uk or go to your App Store and type in Property Investor. But for now, I want to say thank you, and I'll speak to you all on the next episode. Bye-bye.
The large majority of people make a positive change if they take immediate action. So act now. Download the Property Investor app and join Arsh on his social media channels to excel your property journey.